A lot has happened since 2020, and one of the most intriguing developments is what's happened to very small businesses. We'll get into the great SMB metamorphosis in about 30 seconds.
Welcome to Corey's Local Marketing Minute, an enlightening and entertaining look at what's happening in local marketing. Corey's Minute is brought to you by Adcelerant. Why should you be working with Adcelerant? Here's CEO Brock Berry.
Hi, my name's Brock Berry, CEO and co-founder at Adcelerant. Adcelerant's total digital agency software solution, UI.marketing, is being leveraged by over 300 local media companies and ad agencies in 5 countries. We're proud that our team has landed on this year's Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing private companies for the 5th year in a row. If you're already partnering with Adcelerant, thank you. If not, reach out to us so we can get a conversation started today.
Learn more at adcelerant.com or book a demo by emailing info@adcelerant.com. And now, the shaman of local marketing, Corey Elliott.
Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but in case I'm not, subscribe, hit that like button, wherever that is, and comment. As always, love to hear your feedback. Okay, today, we're going to share with you something we found in our data. Specifically, when we compared 2022 to 2019, forgetting those crazy years of 2020 and 2021. And we're not talking about ad spending or marketing spend or anything like that yet. What we're going to talk about is how the business landscape changed in the past 2.5 years. And changed has it. It's a change a lot of us might not have been aware was going on, but indeed, it was. Let's get into it. On a regular basis, we get business counts across the US with the number of employees in each business. And that's where we saw a big dip in 2020 and it comes back up in 21 and 22. But someone had the bright idea to look at 2022 data versus 2019 data, skipping those in-between years, just to see if anything really stood out. And by golly, something did. Let me show you. By the way, I got new markers. There was something unique in the rate of change of locations and employee counts between 2019 and 2022. I'll show you 4 examples. Home improvement, legal services, furniture store, and food stores. The number of locations all went up for these, and for darn near every other business. For instance, there are 16.4% more home improvement stores now than there were in 2019. 20% more legal services, 21.5% more furniture stores, and 30% more food stores. So, what do you think happened to the employee count? Here's where it gets interesting. 10% fewer people employed in home improvement stores, legal services was flat, furniture stores up 1.1%, and food stores down 6%. How can the number of locations grow so much, but the employees involved remain relatively same or even possibly shrink? Could it be that a lot of small businesses opened, that each employed a lot fewer people, or that some of those people from big stores ended up in small stores? That way, the total number of locations could increase, but the total number of employees stay flat. Could we prove this out? Nah, there's no way. I'm kidding, of course we can. Okay, I should stop right here and remind you that the vast majority of businesses out there have under 10 employees. I mean the vast majority. So what I'm going to show you here are the percentages of each of these business types that have under 10 employees in 2019. So 82% of the locations of home improvement out there had under 10 employees. 92% of legal services, 87% of furniture stores, 84% food stores. So if our theory holds, we should be able to see it here, that the under 10 businesses would be a larger percentage of the total number of locations. Was it? Home improvement went from 82% to 86, legal services 92 to 95, furniture 87 to 90, food stores 84 to 89%. I know these look like big numbers, but put it in perspective. Still, over half of the US is employed by businesses that have over 10 employees. These are truly small guys. But before we got ahead of ourselves, we want to make sure what we're seeing is right. And by golly, take a look at this. As we did our research, we found headline after headline and study after study that described a massive growth of very small businesses since the pandemic. And it's everything you think it could be. People starting new ventures, maybe it's people with side gigs, people opening up their own consultancies. It really doesn't matter. These are legitimate small businesses. But were we satisfied with our own data and headlines from third-party sources? No, we were not. Actually, we just found some other data that was kind of cool, which came to us from the U.S. Census Bureau Business Formation Statistic Database. What they do is gather up and count business applications. They do it every month, and they split them into 2 groups. Okay, HBAs are high propensity business applications. I do not know why they don't name it HPBA. I don't work in the government. Anyway, high propensity businesses are those businesses or business applications that have a high propensity to turn into a larger business with payroll. Makes sense, right? Well, what makes this truly interesting are the number of non-HBs or non-high propensity business applications. In other words, those business applications that are for pretty small businesses. What you're seeing here is the total number of business applications in the US by quarter. Blue are the HBA applications, those high propensity businesses. The orange are non-HBA. And take a look at the right-hand side of this graph, where we see a big uptick in the middle of 2020 when it comes to really small business applications. Now, that's just the overall. They do divide it into a couple of different business segments that all show kind of the same pattern. Take, for instance, retail. You can see the trend line of very small business applications, and then it just explodes in 2020 and beyond. It seems like every business segment has its own story, but all connected by something major happening in 2020 and 2021. Take a look at professional services. Small business applications are pacing along nicely, and they too exploded in 2020. Even those segments that were hit really hard in early 2020 showed a big bounce back in applications later in 2020. Arts and entertainment, for example. The first half of 2020 saw a big drop off in small business applications, and then it just went nuts mid-2020 and beyond. But of course, like all things, not every segment is exactly the same. Look what happened to our good friends in real estate. Non-HBA loans were growing ever since 2008 and going at a really good clip going into 2019, and then pre-COVID actually dropped, and 2020 dropped it further to now where it's back on trend again. So every segment has its own story. So to review, we've seen an increase in locations, especially with those businesses with under 10 employees. There are countless headlines and studies and reports that have come out, and we have the data from the US Census Bureau showing a big increase in those non-HBAs. That's all well and good, but what does this mean to local marketing? We can get a clue by understanding how these locations with under 10 employees spend their advertising dollars. And there are a couple things I want to point out, get you thinking. The first thing to think about is, on average, how many different kinds of media do they purchase? Let's compare locations with under 10 employees to locations that have over 10 employees. Wait a minute. To locations that have 10 employees or more. The bigger locations, on average, use 6.9 different types of media. The under 10, 4.1. And that makes sense, right? Well, the trick comes in, what kind of media is that? Where are they spending those very precious dollars? We can make an assumption by looking at the number of social platforms they use. If those businesses with 10 or more employees told us they use on average 2.7 social media platforms, and you understand this relationship here, what would you expect this number to be? 2.1. Not quite the same difference here as here, which suggests the first place they might spend their ad dollars is somewhere digitally, or at least they have a higher propensity to.
So on average, these guys are spending $28,000 on advertising, and indications are one of the first places they spend is online.
Now, one thing they do have in common with bigger businesses is they told us they still want help marketing. They don't have the time or the energy or the know-how to do it. They did want marketing help and ROI. So, since 2019, we have seen a flood of very small businesses. And like any business, they need to get their message out. And they're gravitating online probably because it's the easiest thing to do. But they want and need help. And they have $28K burning a hole in their pocket, sort of. So see if this holds in your market. As you look around, do you see a lot of smaller businesses? Let us know. We'd love to hear about your experiences. And I think that pretty much wraps it up from here. And you know what that means. It's marker time.
You've been watching Corey's Local Marketing Minute, sponsored by our friends at AdCellerant. Learn more at adcellerant.com. Remember, if you'd like to hear more of Corey's insights, check out the Local Marketing Trends podcast. Just Google Burrell Podcast or look for the podcast link on BurrellAssociates.com.